Alright, we're back for game 2, and we have unfortunately lost Stu for this one. Apparently people were sleeping at his place, so he is unable to continue talking very loudly. But that's fine, can solo cast this game, and you guys can just listen to my horrible, horrible, horrible voice for the next however long this game takes. And possibly for game 3 as well, if DoCa can pull out a victory, and wouldn't be surprised if they do. These are pretty evenly matched teams, and obviously even in game 1 after Solaire Club managed to get a pretty significant lead on that Oogie and Dr. Repulsor, they still managed to get a pretty easy, or it still took them about 40 minutes to get the eventual victory, whereas a less capable team might have folded much quicker. Either way, we are well into the Game 2 draft, so Ophelia and Puppet Master are going to be the first two bans from Solaire Club. Cthulhu and Parasite get taken out by Time to Die on DoCa's side, so nothing particularly interesting about the bans. They do leave Swiftblade open, and that leads into a first pick Swiftblade for Justman on the Legion side, followed by Kraken, then Magmus and Tempest. So Magmus-Tempest combo going to be available for DoCa. Muck saying earlier today in one of the casts that he used to consider that as one of the best things in the game. Actually, let's just get rid of this replay counter, huh? Well, maybe I don't want to. No longer does, but Kraken Tempest still obviously very, very strong. Kraken strong against Tempest because he has a superior magic cancel, so even if Tempest has Shrunken Head available, the release of Kraken will stop it. And of course, having them on the same team means stacking those ultimates does a lot of damage and provides a lot of lockdown. Swiftblade and Magmus, though, will provide a lot of damage in these team fights. Eruption and the Swift Slashes, of course, doing a ton. We're waiting on a third pick here from Justman, who's taken a lot of his extra time actually down to 35 seconds or so, and he still has 3 bans and 2 more picks to make, so wondering where he'll go with it. A lot of support still on the board, and it's going to be the Bubbles instead, so more versatile laner in Bubbles. Expect him to be a Suicide, though, and expecting Magmus to be mid, as that is the typical configuration. So Solaire Club not going nearly as greedy in the hero pick department, obviously. Bubbles not a particularly greedy hero. Magmus sort of in between. Swiftblade a little bit on the greedier side, but not too many heroes need a ton of farm, and DoCa so far. Pretty much similar to the last game in terms of how much farm they need overall. Kraken, one of the more item-dependent strength initiators, as he likes to have Portal Key, Soul's Bulwark, Shrunken Head, all sorts of good stuff before he really gets going. Tempest is the other one that is going to require a fair bit of farm, and Time to Die actually also using a lot of time for his third pick as well. And this is usually why I start the cast well into the drafting phase, because then I don't sit here and talk about how much time they have left, which matters, but it's not like I want to sit here and count seconds. But wouldn't mind seeing a support here. Otherwise they can, well, they don't want to ban out support on Solaire Club, so actually I don't want to see a support. I want to see a carry, because the Legion side already have the short laner, and they would be able to ban out carries if the right. So okay, not bad. And Oogie can combo well with Kraken and Tempest as well. Of course, if you catch multiple people in the Kraken ulti or the Tempest ulti, then Oogie's Tarquake is going to do a ton of damage, and his Conflagrate will provide a lot of AoE burn as well. So the Swiftblade magic immunity going to be very, very important in these games, and the mobility from Magmus and Bubbles also going to be highly important. Of course, Bubbles Tempest will cancel the Tempest ultimate very easily with the Kelp Field, and he's going to need to sit back and wait for that to happen. But Tempest still with the Shrunken Head is not going to be interrupted unless Swiftblade manages to get his ulti off. Yeah, Stu, you don't get mod. Because you're just going to unban Catagon is what you're going to do, and that's not happening. That dude's staying banned. I know exactly. I know exactly what you're going to do if I give you a mod. Second banning stage is getting started out. Revenant and Rhapsody, the first 2 bans from Solaire Club, as he's removing support heroes. A little bit interesting considering he doesn't have a jungler quite yet, so he's possibly looking at picking up 2 supports himself, and all the traditional junglers are either banned out or picked up. Tempest, Ophelia, and Parasite being those heroes. Still have Keep of the Forest, as well as a couple other non-traditional junglers. who are available. I don't know how well Nubik plays those, so I'd imagine that they're looking for the dual support option. They do still have plenty of those, of course, Empath, Glacius, and Torture all on the board, but Hellborn needing at least one of those supports as well. So if they do continue to ban the support heroes, I wouldn't be surprised if they only get one of those three. And there's still good stuff like Engie, but yeah, Engie Magnus, that could still work. Ban Glacius. Are you free to keep banning? Hey, look at that! I'm good. Hellborn going solo with Dr. Repulsor and looking for another one as they figure that Solaire Club's going to go greedy and run the Suicide Swiftblade. I don't know why. They have Swiftblade, Magnus, and Bubbles. Silhouette is not going to fit in that lineup unless you're in a jungle Magnus. And I don't think Solaire Club are notorious for doing that. The Dr. Repulsor ban obviously makes sense because Noob can clearly play that hero very well and did so in the last game, so Time to Die has it fresh in his memory. Shut up, Stu. I don't know. Maybe it was Diglett that kept unbanning him, but I'm afraid of all you NA HoN players unbanning Catagon in my Twitch chat, which is not happening. I don't really have any animosity towards Catagon. It's more like he kind of ruined Twitch chat, so it's not really worth it. Anyway, last ban's going to be Wretched Hag for Time to Die, and another hero that doesn't seem to fit this lineup. I don't understand any of these bans from DoCa except for Dr. Repulsor. The Silhouette and the Wretched Hag just don't make any sense, unless they're going to run a roaming Swiftblade, which is not something that they do on Solaire Club. Twisted Fusion would do that, because Slot would play like some kind of jungle roaming Swiftblade, but yeah, I said that.
Vindicator.
God, Stu, if I mod you, will you just shut up? There you go.
Flux.
I modded you, Stu. It's fine. Can you stop yelling? Stu, if you have a stream, you should tell me, because I can put you in my chat. Maybe you'll get more viewers. I don't get that many viewers, but more than 2. Anyway,
Legionnaire.
for some reason I'm giving in the demands of a madman, but okay, this is interesting. We're gonna have support Vindy. Alright, that's fantastic. I know Land Warrior Tech, you don't get mod, sorry. You want to cast? Then you can get mod, but you don't get mod if you don't cast. I'm kind of surprised that they would do something like that. I don't hate it, and it's actually going to be a pretty fantastic counter against this Tempest, as well as the Oogie. They're going to need Shrunken Heads to remove that silence, and with the Glyph down, it'll perplex them as well, so that's kind of an awesome pick, actually. I'm pretty damn okay with it. Vindy, the big problem with him as a support is that he doesn't do all that much damage, and he doesn't actually, like, CC people. He's a big fat silence, and he's very annoying, but he doesn't do a ton, and he doesn't stun. So it's like, what a rhyme. And in this game specifically, though, as a pick, I think it works. Just because they're going to be so dependent on having spells, especially on that Oogie, that having Vindy just sit in the back and wait to ulti when Oogie starts to go crazy with his ultimate is going to be really, really huge. So, I like it. I like it a lot, actually. Very, very non-traditional support, but quite interesting, and excited to see what it'll do. So, Noob going to pick up the Jungle Lego. I believe he's played this before, and he's done at least fairly well with it, so I don't have too much fear that he's going to totally biff this jungle experience. And the rest of the lanes, pretty solid. Kendorf going to play the short lane Swiftblade. I'm going to have Army of Mums on the Suicide Bubbles. So this is the first time I've seen Army of Mums play something that's not Kraken in a very, very long time. As the Hellborn side did pick up the first pick, Kraken, so poor guy doesn't get his one hero. And we'll see how his Suicide Bubbles goes. Middle lane, no surprise, it's going to be the Magnus, and Vindy apparently going to head bottom with Swiftblade, which is a little bit curious to me. Vindy's not really going to provide too much for Swiftblade in this lane. He's mostly just going to steal experience. And Magnus in the middle lane against the dual lane, not going to be the greatest. It's going to be the NG Flux, which is a pretty solid lane in general, and it's something I didn't mention as well. They do have the Engineer Flux, of course. Drop the energy field, pull everybody in with the Flux ultimate, and they're all silenced and stuff, which is nice. But NG gonna rotate a little bit and perhaps drop a ward. Yeah, gonna block out this hard camp and try to affect Legionnaire's jungle a little bit. They're actually gonna block 2 camps, but they're not gonna block the short camp or the small camp, which is a little bit interesting. At the most, you see, you know, stop this LIGO by blocking the small camp and not by blocking harder camps. But oh well. Actually, Word of Rev is going to be able to counter this Word of Sight in the bottom rim, so pretty typical placement there from Stanmarch in terms of the ward, not particularly creative. And he's going to pay for that as he loses his Rune Vision. But yeah, I don't know what Vindy's going to do. Maybe help LIGO jungle. I don't think that Switchblade really needs him in this bottom lane. I guess he's going to come down here and try to zone this Kraken out, but I don't know how well that's going to go, as he currently has level 1 Brain Drain. That's going to be a slightly annoying nuke, but not the biggest deal. Kraken going to have some issues keeping his mana pool up, because of course he does have relatively high mana cost spells, and quite a few of them for a relatively low mana pool, but Vindy just not a great zoning support. And as a result, probably won't be too successful in keeping Kraken as you can see, he's just like tickling Kraken. He's not doing like nothing in terms of actual damage. It's pretty hilarious. Kraken's just gonna eat a tree and should be just fine. He's currently sitting on 7 tangos, so that's plenty of health. And yeah, there you go. Vindy gonna take a couple of auto attacks and eat more damage than Kraken has taken pretty much this entire time. Forced to eat a tree himself as well. Vindicator currently sitting on 5 tangos after that one he's already eaten, so both of them bringing a lot of trees to the lane. And Switchblade meanwhile is just like, alright, guys, do whatever you want. I'm going to sit here and take CS. We'll spin out of the Kraken, but he just charges away, and Vindicator can do nothing about that. So that's the problem with Vindy, of course, as I was mentioning before, is he does not have a way to stop Kraken from doing that, or at least punish him for doing it. Like, say, Empath or Rhapsody or something like that. Glacius. So he is preventing Kraken from getting CS, which is nice, but I don't know exactly how necessary he is in this lane. Meanwhile, middle lane, we're going to have Jismin on the Magnus at 165 GPM, and Flux is at 320, 330 now. So in the end, Flux can have a much better time in this middle lane, even without Engineer's presence, as Engineer has actually rotated the top lane to try to help out this Oogie, which is a bit of an awkward lane. Engineer is not the greatest zoning support in the world, and we can see Army of Mums actually not even having all that much lane control, but he's doing just fine on levels, 311 experience per minute. And Marcus Moy on the Oogie actually slightly below that, despite the fact that, of course, ranged heroes do lose more experience from denies than melee heroes do. And Army of Mums starting to pick his farm up a little bit as well, so he's at 210 or so GPM, 220. It's not bad. And Marcus Mori 251, so this is really not going all that well for Oogie, considering he's got a support around here, an Engineer to do stuff with. And he's going to get the pull-off, but again, really all particularly helpful. Middle lane, I completely missed the Bloodlust, yay! But it's a solo cast, so I can go back and catch it. Release goes on, and Magnus stunning back in for reasons. Do people just, like, forget that you can use Lava Surge to run away? You don't have to hit somebody with it. You can just literally stun into the trees right there and live totally fine. He did have the ultimate on... Well, he probably didn't, actually. I think he hit 6 as a result of that kill, so he didn't even have the ult. I'm gonna guess. Anyway, top lane, Bubbles is gonna be in a lot of trouble. He actually will take cover of the stun, not bad. And Shell Surf away? Yes! Just barely in time. Glacial Blast nearly finished him off. But ends up surviving, so not a bad play from Army of Mums, and he should clearly play a little more Bubbles, because this is going pretty damn well for him. I don't know why he's playing Kraken all the time, because he's not that great a Kraken, and appears to be at least a solid Bubbles player. Maybe it's just the situation he's in. Bubbles against a melee hero generally does very well, and against Oogie in particular is going to be kind of fantastic. He's got the silence, he has the Shell Surf away, which really mitigates the effectiveness of Torquake as a chasing mechanism. Level 2 Engineer needs to be very careful about this, because Bubbles is going to get hit 6 relatively quickly, and he doesn't have enough mana for combo right now, but he will if he conserves his spells. And once that goes through, Engineer will die to the combo. So he's going to have to watch out a little bit. And he's trying to zone this Bubbles as best he can, but the Word of Sight is providing Bubbles a lot of utility and vision, allowing him to stay in the right position.
DoCa.
And he will also get lane control back a little bit here as well. So Bubbles having a pretty fantastic time up in this top lane. Marcus Money not doing all that well in the Oogie at 310 GPM. Flux in the middle lane is having an absolutely amazing time, 450 GPM. And he's head and shoulders above everybody else in this entire game, including those on the Legion side. None of whom are doing all that well. Middle lane Kraken going to rotate over, perhaps look for a gank. Flux going to pull everybody back in, but Magma's going to use his Lava Surge to get away this time, so he's learned from his last experience. And we'll just run. 321 GPM on Kendorf in the bottom lane is actually a little bit low, I feel like, considering how much this Vindicator was boxing out the Kraken. Actually did a pretty decent job at it. Kraken just did 82 gold per minute, so I don't know if Kendorf's missing CS or if he spent some time trying to get this Kraken killed, so he wasn't necessarily next to the wave the entire time, but not exactly doing the best in terms of overall CS scores. 36 creep kills for him. You compare that to 43 for Flux in the middle lane, and 33 for Oogie in the top lane, in the lane that's been much more heavily contested by this Bubbles. And nice take cover. We'll stop the keg stun. There's basically nothing they can do, and he's going to turn this around onto the Engineer. Yeah, no problem. Bubbles is definitely going to die for this, but at least he's going to get a kill out of it. He'll drop the Kelp Field as well, which is actually a bit of a waste. There was really no way that was going to save him, and now that's on cooldown. Instead of being able to teleport to another lane, use that to get a second gank and another kill, he now has it on cooldown, and he'll basically be forced to go top once again without even having that as a safety escape mechanism even. So really, really significant waste of that ability, and it was nerfed a little while back, of course, with the increased cooldown, so it's going to be a while before he has it back. Level 1, 115 seconds. That is not insignificant, so I really don't feel like you can just waste it in that manner. Flux putting some aggression there on the middle lane and the Magnus, but not going to be enough damage.
I have you. Yeah.
And so, 7.5 minutes in here. It's a relatively passive game. We have 2-to-1 hero kill advantage for the Hellborn side, of course, as they got that Bloodlust in the middle lane, and then traded 1-for-1 the top Engineer dying for the Bubbles, which actually ended up being a pretty solid trade for both sides, really. Engineer, not the biggest loss for the Hellborn team. They also managed to get a counter kill on the Flux, who is continuing to do great, but Bubbles getting some experience out of that, so he's probably mostly okay with it. Flux, okay, that was an interesting release. Did nothing. I don't know. Not great. Tempest is going for the Sorcery and the Ring of the Teacher. So, I guess he likes it, so he's putting 2 rings on it, as Bay would say. Sorry about that. But I had to. I felt compelled. Even though there's no rally in this game. I'm going to stop now. So he's going to have a lot of mana regen, and in these fights he's going to be very helpful. They're also going for the double ring of sorcery in that Oogie's getting one too. I don't remember if Link is the person who got Icon on Tempest before. I really hope he's not, but I've seen that item in Gold Division on a Tempest in the past, and it's absolutely awful. It's not a great plan unless you're already going to win, but Bubbles is dead. Nice take cover, but the Tarquake is still there. He got a little bit too aggressive with that. Oogie tried to trade auto attacks, and instead of porting into the woods where he could teleport away, he instead tried to go into the lane where Engineer was waiting for him. Not the greatest plan in the world. And they're actually going to turn this into a top tower push as Kraken has rotated over from the bottom lane. Should be able to get this tier 1 very, very easily. And about to go down. So, anyway, Tempest. Very, very strange item build, in my opinion. If you're going to Ring of the Teacher, then you don't go Ring of Sorcery. You just don't need the extra mana. It's not necessary. Engineer sitting on 0 items is pretty funny. And Oogie getting his own Ring of Sorcery, which feels unnecessary considering Tempest got one, but I guess, hey. If you're going for the Icon anyway, you might as well get the Ring of Sorcery as an early addition. Flux will push everybody away with his ultimate. Magnus Eruption doing nothing as a result, or at least not doing nearly enough. Flux already pretty damn tanky. He's got a Portal Key. So we're looking at a sub 10 minute PK and Steam Boots and Bottle for this Flux, who is just absolutely taking off. Now the question is, what sort of impact is he going to have? Now the rest of his team I don't know if they have the damage output to be able to follow him up. He doesn't hit all that hard at this point. He's going to be a bit of an issue when it comes to initiation. But actually, Flux, or Kraken Ultimate, going to lock down Army of Mums on the bubbles, and he's going to take a third death. So he's 1-3-0 after a really strong start. Ends up having some issues in his top lane. Still at 200 GPM, which is better than the opposing team's Kraken Suicide at 117, thanks to that support Vindicator doing some pretty serious work in this bottom lane. But I don't know. Flux is going to be a pretty tanky mess in the middle of these team fights. It's basically going to be impossible to kill. I just saw in that middle team fight, it's not going to happen. Between how tanky he is and the ability to push people away, he's going to be just fine. Next time from Magnus, or from Kraken it, or Kraken God. Engineer going to miss. Tempest going to get locked down as well with the Kelp Field. He's taking a lot of damage. He's looking for an opportunity to ulti, but that's not going to happen. Spin from Noob doing some nice damage, and he's going to look for another initiation. Terrifying Charge already down, but there's no way they're catching the Flux and the Engineer. But all 5 heroes grouped up in the middle lane for the Solaire Club, and this will be a Tier 1 tower push. Looks like it'll be a Tier 1 tower kill as well, as Hellborn see no interest really in defending it. Tempest is down. His ultimate's also on cooldown. I don't know when he used that. Must have been on that kill onto Army of Mums on the bubbles earlier.
The Legion have destroyed a Hellborn tower.
But anyway, item progression in general not bad. Legionnaire actually sitting at 430 GPM as he had a pretty amazing time in the Legion Woods, which is, I believe, a little bit atypical for Legionnaires. They tend to farm a lot better in Hellborn Woods, as far as I recall when talking to What You Got, who is a very good jungle Legionnaire player. But nonetheless, Noob McNoob, only 1 assist, so he's definitely had a fantastic time in terms of the CS. 104 creeps killed, and that's 25 more than anybody, or 15 more than anybody else. So Switchblade being the second highest, and he's at 450 GPM. So Solaire Club actually taking a pretty substantial golden experience lead here at 12 minutes in, 1,000 gold and 2,500 experience. Nothing to be ignored. If Flux doesn't go Astro, he's stupid. I agree. Should be an Astro. Tempest then doesn't have to buy one. He's got a really ridiculous amount of farm. He's got 1 piece already with the Crushing Claw. And that can be an earlier portal key for Tempest, which he'll probably need. Yeah. Legion Jungle might be great. I don't know. I'm not a huge Legionnaire player. Speaking of Legionnaire, he's real dead. As he tries to take the Ancients. Flux Ultimate did basically nothing. Legionnaire already right next to him. Not particularly helpful. And they're going to push down the middle tower.
Destroyed a Legion tower.
Hellborn trying to even up, and now expanding upon a gold lead of their own. Switchblades go off the Rune Cleaver, which is a little bit iffy. It's kind of greedy. He's going to have it relatively quickly thanks to his very strong early farm, but you would think that based on their lineup, which is really very, very good in the mid-game, especially if Magnus gets a portal key at decent timing, which he will have. 260 gold per minute means that he'll have a PK before 20 minutes, probably around an 18-minute mark or so. And I would imagine that with an Abyssal Skull and an Energizer, maybe an early Frostburn, the Switchblade would have a pretty fantastic time. The Rune Cleaver is really not going to do much for him in these early team fights, and I don't know if they want to take this late against Oogie. Even with the spin from Switchblade, which should be a pretty solid counter to Oogie, and the fact that they've got a Vindicator to try to shut him down in terms of being able to cast, which is the thing that allows him to stay so tanky in these fights, I don't know if it's going to be enough. And they do still have a Tempest, they have a Kraken, and I mean, NG Field is going to be annoying as hell. So I'm just a little bit iffy, I think, of Rune Cleaver. He already has it, so it's really not the worst item. It's going to allow him to farm a lot faster. And he's already farming pretty damn fast. But anyway, Flux going to jump in on this. Not doing too much with his release. Pull back in. Switchblade's still going to be able to TP away. Bubbles the Shelter. And Vindicator Silence not going to allow anything else to happen. Kegstone will connect on the Bubbles. I don't know if they actually saw him. Yeah, Flux is here. Going to be able to release right on his face. And that's a death for Army of Mums. Flux now going to have to wait for his portal key to come back off cooldown and get out of these trees. But worth it to get that kill. As it'll be 1 person down. And the Vindicator ultimate also spent to try to save his teammates. Kandorf was pretty much already gone thanks to the Kegstone, or to the spin and the teleport. And And that really did not save Army of Mom's life. But yeah, it does look like Flux is going for the early shrunken head, which is iffy, to say the least, I think. I mean, it'll stop the Magnus damage, and it'll stop a lot, or him getting locked down from the bubbles. The only thing I can think of why he would get it is if it is because it will purge the silence from Vindicator. I don't think that's enough, and considering there's a good chance there'll be a glyph down, if he drops the ultimate on Vindy and the glyph is in range, it's going to perplex him anyway. So, it seems strange. I don't know. No, Bubbles actually going to Shell Surf out before they can finish him off. Icon of the Goddess is finished up on Oogie, who actually just... Did he buy the whole thing? No, he's got 3,400 gold saved up and 446 GPM. He does not have enough for the entire Icon and 3,500 gold, right? There's no way. Yeah. Something else is flying out. It's going to be Mighty Blade for Flux, which is going to be the second part. Oh, bottom lane, missed a kill. Marcus Moy on the Oogie. Swift Slashes are there, and yeah, enough bounces to finish him off. Not bad. Obviously, unable to cast on Swift Blade when he's invulnerable. So... Vindicator ultimate will perplex if the glyph of silence is down. So enemies within 1,000 range of the totem are inflicted by final chapter or cast a spell are silenced, perplexed, and have a tapering 50% movement speed slow. So it only works if the glyph is in range, but 1,000 range is pretty damn big. Anyway, Magma's gonna be in some trouble. And we'll try to run away. Courier obviously spots him out. He's also going to get glyph down, has no steam bath access, and that's going to be a pretty easy kill. As Zifrante takes yet another one. 5-0-1, 451 GPM. And at this point, he actually might be better served giving some of these kills to his teammates. But hey, maybe they're just focused on not letting people get away, as opposed to saying, no, you please take the kill. Two solid ways to look at it. Maybe more valuable on another hero, but if you look at it at all, then that's a bigger problem. Solaire Club continuing to out-farm the guys on the Hellborn team, which is a little bit interesting. I feel like they should be getting super aggressive at this point. We have a Portal Key on Tempest, we got an Icon of the Goddess on Oogie, Flux has a PK of his own, we have Kraken who's working on PK. If they don't start ganking heavily once Kraken has Portal Key, I don't know what's going to happen in this game. What the hell is Beef doing in chat? Oh, this guy. Unbelievable. Why isn't he co-casting this game? Beef. Anyway. So this Hellborn team needs to get a little more active because Swiftblade's clearly going for a farm build, and considering he's basically just got Cleave right now, he's got Cleave and an Energizer. He's not going to be a huge factor in these fights for a little while until that Cleave starts to pay off. And I mean, to be totally honest, going Cleave against the lineup like the Hellborn have, a bit iffy, because even if you take this whole late game with Cleave, I'm not convinced it's going to turn into anything good. Bottom lane, meanwhile, everything's going down. Tempest's going to get locked down by a 3-man Kelp field. Energy field in the background going to do a fair bit of damage. It will finally wear off. Flux pulling everybody back in. Still nobody dead right off the bat. And they do manage to kill off Linko 6 in the background of the Tempest. Didn't quite catch it, but it's fine. Everybody in the background, in fact, dying. I'm completely missing it as the eruption from Magnus is whiffing. Our Engineer dying here as well. Releasing Kraken right on the Legionnaire's head, but I don't think that's going to be enough. Kraken now in a lot of trouble as he's trying to run away. Oogie is trying to do something to Sliv here, who will look to kill those Bubbles, has the Conflagrate active, but now he's going to be out of mana, and it's a bit of a problem. He does not have the Icon charges that were available for Oogie last game by Cannondor, will be stunned out and killed. Meantime, they're going to try to chase down this Kraken on Swiftblade. The spin is going to do enough damage, yeah. Splash auto there, almost going to be able to finish off Swiftblade, but not quite.
Massacre! Genocide!
Not bad. SB cannot TP first and then spin. It'll cancel the TP because it's casting a spell.
The Legion have
And
destroyed
they take a tier 2 as well, so
tower.
Solaire Club taking a pretty fantastic fight actually, which is not what I would have expected considering Swiftblade's current build. The Cleaver is perhaps more valuable on him than most other heroes in a team fight. Dark Lady perhaps being the only one where it's even more valuable, but still interesting. They managed to take that fight. Oogie just not quite as powerful as he was last game. The Icon of the Goddess hasn't really been built up yet. He doesn't have nearly as much farm on Marcus Moy's Oogie as Kandorf's Oogie did last game, 370 GPM, substantially below where Marcus Moy was last game. So he doesn't have the secondary items on top of the Icon that really allow him to be a force in these team fights. And of course, they have the continuous silences from Vindicator and from Bubbles, all the lockdown preventing Oogie from casting. And they've really done a lot to address that hero. And it's been a bit of a problem for this Oogie. There you go, I updated the title, so to reflect the fact that Stu has left us. What a bastard. And Hellborn, they are moments away from picking up a portal key on the Kraken. Legion side, meanwhile, Abyssal Skull has been finished on Swiftblade, so now they're getting to the point where Swiftblade's starting to get some pretty serious items. And he's going to be more and more dangerous in these team fights, and if Oogie is going to continuously get silenced out, that's going to be a pretty serious issue, because they're just not going to have a lot of sources of damage. Tempest is not going to provide too much, Flux is not going to provide a lot, Engineer's not going to provide a lot, Kraken will provide a bit, but a huge amount of this is going to be on Oogie and his ability to cast Heartbreaks in these fights. But between Vindicator and Bubbles, he's just getting wrecked so far, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see Sheepstick start to come out as well. No Nullstone is in the works for Oogie, and he actually might need to buy one preemptively, as I wouldn't be surprised if both Magnus and Bubbles end up looking for a Sheepstick or a Hellflower, something to lock him down and prevent him from being able to cast. Because if he can't cast, I don't see how they're going to kill anything, and that's their big problem. Now, if they can get good initiation with this new Kraken Portal Key, then that can change a lot. He is showing the PK, though. So Legion side are aware that he has it, and won't be able to get any ganks off, surprise ganks off as a result. They're grouping up as 5 in the middle lane. They've got all of their ultimates available, so this is about when you want to do it. Kraken, new portal key, and everybody else is about as good to go as they're going to be. They're going to sort of push in this middle lane, but not really going to go for it. And Vizrin will be picked up by Flux. He's got a bottle, so maybe they feel like they need Kongor to do this, and I wouldn't be surprised. Getting a token on the Oogie would be very, very helpful. It'll allow him to get in there and take a lot of damage. And still die, come back with full life and full mana. Obviously, token on Oogie, one of the more valuable tokens in the game, as he tends to die without a lot of mana. And 0 health, because that's what happens when you have 0 health, you die. But Staff of the Master is picked up by Noob McNoob, because why not? That's going to allow him to reset his cooldowns when he gets a successful dunk off, and we'll see how much he can do in these team fights, but hopefully it's a lot, because it's pretty hilarious to watch a Legionnaire running around and dunking on a whole bunch of people. And it's, he's pretty tanky, he's got a portal key, so great initiation from the Lego. And Swiftblade kind of in the middle of these fights, spinning around, he's picked up a Ice Brand? Does he have a Frostburn? Okay, good. That scared me for a second. I thought he just picked up a naked Ice Brand, which would be a terrible, terrible, terrible decision. Instead it's Frostburn, which isn't terrible. And that's a pretty hilarious glyph of silence. I don't know what this Vindicator alt avatar is, but that's great. Background Bubble's going to jump into this portal key. Kraken to look for the altar initiation. Flux ultimate on everybody. Ooga Booga's there, and a Vindicator silence, though. They can't do anything as a result of this. Magnus coming in, going to wipe everybody. Ganondorf for the quad kill.
The Legion have destroyed the HoN Tower.
Vindicator, #1 hero. Like, no joke. That was purely because of the Vindy. silenced everything out, and they're going to call a concede, which is a little bit premature in my opinion, but I get where they're coming from. The only reason I disagree with it is because this is a loser's bracket. If you lose this game on Don't Care's side, you are knocked out, so... Well, fake CC? That seems about right. Apparently Lego's going to well dive now. He's got a Void Talisman, because why not? But that's going to be mid-racks in favor of Solaire Club. They're going to see some respawns on the Hellborn side. They still have access to the Tempest Ultimate and the Energy Field, so maybe they'll be able to do something with that. Vindicator Ultimate is down for a really long time, but that, man, that Vindy ult was huge. And they're going to back off on Solaire Club's side. So yeah, fake CC. Apparently, they are still not in a great position on the Hellborn team as a result of that really, really, really bad team fight. And Cannondorf has a 701 gold per minute, so... Yeah, he's got a Dawnbringer finished up. He's got a 1200 gold. Meanwhile, he's going to jump on top of this Kraken, who's going to be completely decimated. Nice dunk from the Legionnaire. And he is Savage 6. So Noob Noob 7, 1, and 4. Cannondorf 5, 0, and 5. Stanmarch 0, 0, and 8. A lot of really good hero kill score lines coming out from this Legion team. Spin going to cancel the Keg stun. And looks like it will be a bot tower push. They don't have a token on anybody. Flux can jump in with the Shrunken Head, going to try to do some damage. Tempest ultimately hit on a 4. There's no cancel. Will they have enough damage to finish this off? Kegstun going to hit everybody, and they're all inside of the thing. Flux pulling everybody back in once again, but nobody's dead. They just don't have any damage. Army Mum's the only one to fall in that bubbles, who's already pretty damn squishy. Kendorf is going to die. Yes, the tower finishes him off, but a dunk from Legionnaire come back in with the portal key, and they're going to call another CC vote. And now I feel a little bit more safe about this one because... A, I know how long this game takes because I accidentally looked at the timer, so I knew it wasn't going to end before. But besides that, that was a really bad team fight. I mean, they got a 4-man Tempest Hole, and they had absolutely no follow-up for damage. They managed to kill Army of Mums on that Bubbles, but he had like 1100 health, so who cares? They eventually killed off Cannondorf, but as it came out, that was essentially a fight where Legion had very few of their ultimates and very few of their skills. Half of them were at half health or half mana or both. And Hellborn had basically the best fight that they could possibly have in that game. And they still weren't really able to clean it up. So they're basically like, well, if things go 100% correctly for us and we still lose, yeah, we're probably not coming back out. But Solaire Club, congrats to them, because they did play a very, very tight game too, and 706 GPM on Cannondorf. Not bad at all. I'm sure he'll take it. They are able to knock out Don't Care in the Losers Bracket Round 4, and that means that Solaire Club can move on to the Losers Bracket Semi-Finals. And that's a position I'm not sure that they've reached before. It is. They certainly, I don't think they've advanced beyond that. So this is a team that's getting better. Definitely. Solaire Club showing some pretty significant improvements over the last couple of cycles. They've been a pretty typical mid-tier gold team for a really long time, but I feel like the stuff we're seeing out of them over the last couple of cycles has been substantially better than what they did before. And I'm excited to see how they do as this cycle progresses. Best of luck to them. Don't Care, unfortunately, be knocked out here, but another team I think that's doing better than they were. Unfortunately, not quite enough to overcome the Solaire Club, but I think that their new roster is very, very promising. Time to Die is a fantastic suicide player and a solid drafter. In the end, Marcus Moy, a great carry player. The rest of the team, obviously, very strong as well. Even if I don't call you out by name, you're still a good player. It's just, I don't know, whatever. But not quite enough to overcome Solaire Club's juju here. And congrats to them as they move on.